March 27th, 1995. 8:30 in the morning. Maurizio Gucci walks into his office building in Milan, impeccably dressed as always. A gunman emerges from the shadows and fires 3 shots into his back. One final bullet to the temple. The last Gucci to control the Gucci empire dies on the marble floor of his own headquarters. The media explodes. The tabloids call it a mafia hit. The police eventually arrest his ex-wife, Patrizia Reggiani, who allegedly hired the killer for $15,000. She becomes known as the Black Widow. It's a story made for Hollywood, literally. But here's what everyone misses. By the time Maurizio was murdered, he hadn't owned a single share of Gucci for 2 years. He'd already lost everything. The assassination was an epilogue to a story that had already ended. And it wasn't murder that destroyed the house of Gucci. It was something far more common, far more predictable. A family civil war and catastrophic mismanagement. This is the real story of how the Gucci empire fell. To understand the collapse, you have to understand the beginning. In 1921, Gucci opened a small leather goods shop in Florence. He'd worked at the Savoy Hotel in London and saw how the European elite traveled, with trunks covered in monograms, with luggage that announced status. He came home with an idea: Italian craftsmanship for the international aristocracy. His sons joined the business, and it was Aldo Gucci, Maurizio's uncle, who turned it into a global phenomenon. Aldo was a natural showman. He opened the first Gucci store in New York in 1953. He courted celebrities: Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, Jackie Kennedy. They all carried Gucci bags. Aldo understood something crucial. Luxury isn't just about quality, it's about desire. It's about making people believe they're buying into a world they can't normally access. By the 1970s, Gucci was everywhere. The double G logo became one of the most recognizable symbols in the world. The company was worth hundreds of millions. But there was a problem lurking beneath the success. The Gucci family didn't just own the company. They believed they were the company. And when you have multiple egos competing for the same throne, empires don't expand, they explode. The first crack appeared in 1982. Paolo Gucci, Aldo's son and Maurizio's cousin, wanted to launch his own line under the Gucci name. Aldo refused. He saw it as a betrayal, a dilution of the brand. Paolo didn't take it well. He did something almost unthinkable in the world of Italian family business. He went to the authorities. He told the IRS that his father had been evading taxes for years, hiding millions in offshore accounts. Aldo Gucci, the man who built the global empire, was convicted of tax evasion and sentenced to a year in federal prison. He was 79 years old. The humiliation was total, and the war was just beginning. While Aldo was being destroyed by his own son, Maurizio Gucci, Aldo's nephew, was plotting his own takeover. Maurizio's father, Rodolfo, had just died, leaving him a 50% stake in the company. But Maurizio wanted full control, so he did the unthinkable. He sued his uncle Aldo to seize power. Using legal maneuvers and financial backing from InvestCorp, a Bahrain-based investment firm, Maurizio forced Aldo out entirely. By 1989, Maurizio Gucci was the sole owner of the House of Gucci. It was a Pyrrhic victory. The family was shattered. Aldo, broken and humiliated, died in 1990. Paolo died in 1995, penniless and estranged. And Maurizio? He was about to prove that winning control of a company and knowing how to run it are two completely different things. Maurizio Gucci had vision. He had taste. He had a famous last name. What he didn't have was business acumen. He took control of Gucci at the worst possible time. The company was already struggling with overexpansion, counterfeiting, and a tarnished reputation. The brand had become too accessible, too mass market. It had lost its mystique. Maurizio's solution? Spend even more money. He hired superstar designers. He moved the headquarters to a palazzo in Milan. He launched ambitious new product lines that flopped. He wanted to restore Gucci to its former glory, but he had no plan, no financial discipline, and no experience running a major corporation. He was flying blind on borrowed money. The company began hemorrhaging cash. By 1993, Gucci was over $50 million in debt. Investcorp, which had backed Maurizio's takeover, was now demanding results he couldn't deliver. He tried to restructure, tried to cut costs, but it was too late. The board lost confidence, the creditors closed in, and in 1993, Maurizio Gucci sold his remaining stake in the family company to Investcorp for $120 million. Let that sink in. The last Gucci walked away from Gucci. Not because of a murder, not because of a conspiracy, because he failed as a businessman. He'd spent 6 years burning through the family fortune, alienating his partners, and running the company into the ground. When he finally left, Gucci was on the verge of bankruptcy. But here's the twist. After Maurizio sold out, Gucci was saved. Investcorp brought in Tom Ford and Domenico De Sole, two executives who actually knew what they were doing. They repositioned the brand, slashed costs, focused on high-margin luxury goods, and turned Gucci into one of the most profitable fashion houses in the world. Within 5 years of Maurizio's departure, Gucci's value had increased tenfold. The company didn't need a Gucci to succeed. In fact, it thrived without one. So where does the murder fit into this story? Patrizia Reggiani had divorced Maurizio in 1991. She'd been cast aside, humiliated, left for a younger woman. But what really enraged her wasn't the affair. It was the sale. Maurizio had taken the Gucci legacy, the name she'd married into, the empire she'd helped him secure, and sold it to outsiders. He'd walked away with a fortune and started a new life, leaving her behind with nothing but alimony. In her mind, he'd betrayed everything, so she allegedly hired a hitman. But by the time he was killed in 1995, Maurizio Gucci was already irrelevant to the Gucci company. He wasn't a CEO, he wasn't even a shareholder. He was just a man with a famous name, living off the liquidation of a legacy he couldn't preserve. The real story of the fall of the House of Gucci isn't about murder. It's about a family that confused ownership with competence. It's about sons betraying fathers, cousins suing uncles, and executives spending recklessly while the business burned. It's about ego, entitlement, and the oldest mistake in capitalism, believing that a name alone is enough to guarantee success. The lesson is brutal but clear. A company cannot survive a family at war. The Guccis tore themselves apart long before any bullets were fired. And in the end, the empire they built didn't die. It just found better owners.